Well, hello game developers, Sky again, and here is my third idea for a video game, which actually has, in my opinion, I think has a lot of ways it can branch out. I call it Sword for Hire. That's the basic game, and this is gonna be the basic game. Taking the elements from the first two games I mentioned, Faction and the Odds, Sword for Hire. Gameplay-wise, medieval environment, Grand Theft Auto type arrangement in that it's an open sandbox environment, but that's also changeable, which was also part of what Faction and the Odds were, kind of got into. The Odds would involve more landscape changing, and that would be allowed, hopefully, ideally, in the Sword for Hire. But that's kind of a long-range thing. For Sword for Hire, you can join the world as an orphan or a young boy, young girl, and you can decide to join any group, militant, economic, fetch quest, whatever, and decide to go from there. Purposes of brevity, you decide to join a mercenary group. Now, different mercenary groups have different rules of how they organize, how they work, how they have hierarchy, how they train, what they get paid, what they do, and this and that. Once you join a group, there is a certain element called, I guess, rapport would be it. But rapport is kind of like what you have with everybody. It's esteem. That's right. Esteem is this quality where the loyalty of group members, of people in the group to you, is determined. So if you're considered an esteemed member of the group, so that way you've been with the group a long time, you've earned your merits and are recognized by the group. That's where the whole information bits comes in. Free roaming environment, but it's several NPCs that you interact with, and that's part of where in the Odds, this whole idea of where the NPC's plugged in is how he's going to interact idea. And it's based on his qualities or what stats he has beforehand. So as a result, the other idea is that you would have a kind of realistic combat environment. So that way you could literally form a line of guys to fight. And weapons would be effective at different ranges as well. And can be used in different ways. So you have short-range weapons, hands, rocks, daggers. You have medium-range weapons, swords, axes, maces, stuff like that. Long-range weapons, spears, and missile weapons, arrows, and quarrels, stuff like that. Then you have other aspects of that. You can operate machineries, or operate machines of various sorts. So that's where these different skills come in. Here's the other aspect, that you have a very simple skill set. A couple just key skills. Strength, which is how much you can carry, and what type of armor you can carry, kind of thing. But and as well as the whole how much damage can you do. Then you have the dexterity value for being able to avoid being hit, and as well as your ability to hit, intelligence value, and I think, and then constitution, charisma. The other idea and aspect is that there's no real death. To have death, you have to select death. Otherwise, you just you wound to incapacitation in this game, and it would have a realistic, kind of like in Fable. You would start out young, grow old, and die. But you can have a mate in the game and have offspring. And there's a whole kind of genetics mini game you can be involved in. So that's what some players like. The way I was talking about combat. So you have a line. You can basically form up a line of guys, and you can have them. So a group of swordsmen in front, a couple spearmen behind those guys, and behind those guys, a couple guys with bows and arrows. And just kind of based on whatever sort of skill set and the way the actual characters themselves are positioned, you can use all these weapons at once. And vice versa. Different skills that you can learn can determine how effective you are with the weapon. And then another aspect and element you add to it is that the person in charge would have their own buffs and enhancements that they would give and pass on to the people that work with them, serve with them. So if I was the leader of a group and I had a high leadership skill, that would enhance the abilities of my group. And there's different aspects underneath that. So the skill tree would be based like that. The main goal of the game is kind of to amass skills and to make the skills stronger and better. The way you do that is through experience points. You convert the experience points into the skill. There are no skill caps. There's no stat caps, no skill caps. You can grow. You can basically make the skills as large, as high as you want. Here's the thing. To make it grow bigger, you have to put in more experience points. And then at some point, the skill will actually start to diminish if you don't keep putting skill points into it. So that way you can basically be this unstoppably very strong, powerful guy, but you have to keep at it. You have to keep fighting to keep feeding the monster, so to speak. Otherwise, it'll be there will be a mean sort of cap. That'll probably make it'll probably be evident after some tinkering with the game where the cap would be. So that's where you would have whatever element. Now, when going into combat and you're with other NPCs, there's a silhouette so that you know where your avatar is supposed to be. And that way, when you make commands, you can kind of organize it like a football team and just say, "I want this type of formation," and that way your NPCs will follow your orders, and they'll know where to go, kind of thing. And so that way you can employ different formations. You can even get because of that into battles as a result. So you can imagine eventually you have kind of Dynasty Warriors arrangement where you just have several different groups engaging each other in combat. And as a result, hey, it's a whole battlefield that you can interact in. And if you decide, well, actually, I think I'm going to help, or I'm going to go after the general, you can do that. So that's one part of the game, of the gameplay. You can buy land, you can control land, you can do the whole simulation aspect, like in Faction, where you are a guy in charge and you can just organize things. So you can become a king of your own land and say, all right, well, I want to control economics this way or control my military this way. You can have the societies, and the other aspect is that in this game you can either choose to be established or non-established. So you can be you can be a roving band, or you can be a stationary band. You can have a base that you collect at. Now, players or NPCs would have different qualities, different traits, different stats, different skill sets, and skill strengths. And as a result, you have to keep your NPCs happy. You have to have certain arrangements. You have to pay them so much. You have to give them so much entertainment. An NPC could get married and decide, I don't want to play. I don't want to fight with you anymore. So you have to make some sort of arrangement with the NPC if you want to keep them around or not. So that's the single player element beyond the game, or beyond a PC level, in my opinion. And you could also have craftsmanship in there as well. So that's the single player element. Now I think you can expand this idea to a MMO arrangement. The change being that, in a way, you can now have NPCs or characters, or players, do roles. And you have them interact in a very unique, amazing way, in my opinion. The way you play for an MMO was essentially every player, they have to have a bed, that they log off on. And so that way their stats are saved for their characters and that, and they can't be affected when they're asleep. But that bed also acts as the anchor for everything that character controls in the game. similar element and idea that was based on